This is Tiger and Crane Minute, Minute 33. Opening frame. Xing Chen is halfway through a series of practice moves trying to master the crane style. Liu Kang standing around watching him chewing on a piece of straw. After several maneuvers and poses, Xing Chen asks Liu Kang for some constructive criticism to improve his technique.
Terrible!
Xing Chen, ever the optimist, replies,
I know. I'll keep practicing, though.
before asking Liu Kang how he is doing, which he responds by saying,
Not bad.
before going into a series of palm thrusts with corresponding air thump noises. Liu Kang calls this
The tiger's entry.
much to the disappointment of Xing Chen, who walks away to work on his crane moves with his own accompanying Foley effects. As the camera zooms in and blurs on Xing Chen's pecs, we cut to a round table as Lu Ting Chu waits for more leaders of the schools to arrive. His governmental lackey impatiently proclaims,
The Crane School people, where are they? They got the invitation, I know that.
before someone announces the arrival of our favourite crane school master, Chung Li Fu. A close-up shot of Lu Ting Chu shows his pleasure at finally meeting the old man from one of the strongest schools in the province. Chung Li Fu coughs as he walks towards the centre of the arena, a potential sign of weakness in an area full of masters and students from the other schools. He gestures to everyone and apologises for being late,
I'm sorry.
and he's met halfway across the path.
Teacher Chung, you're late.
On the closing frame, Chung Li Fu is being gestured directly towards Lu Ting Chu, and perhaps a grisly demise via the iron claws. So, in this minute, we get a lot of preparation between the two students. I mean, the head students of their schools, but they're clearly lousy at trying to learn each other's particular styles. It doesn't really help that there is this antagonism between these two characters almost immediately off the bat. Some of this has to do with their perceived or potential affections for Hung Yin, which is not really surprising. It's, she's the only female character in here. There's clearly some sort of relationship between Hung Yin and Liu Kang in the past. If that's still ongoing or not, it's never really mentioned upon. Although, spoilers later on in the movie, it becomes more clear that Hung Yin and Xing Chen develop more of a close relationship, especially when they're on the run from Lu Ting Chu's forces. But this is actually quite a good minute for, really showing, without really saying too much about these two characters and their personalities, Liu Kang being a lot more confident and arrogant, Xing Chen being a bit more, I guess, down to earth, a bit more aware of his own follies and foibles, and he just kind of wants to do the right thing. He wants to learn the crane school to reunite the schools together, whereas Liu Kang just doesn't want to do anything with this guy. He thinks he's the best. This is, of course, after the boxing they both got after the first tussle between the two of them. That infamous scene in the bedroom with Chung Li Fu chastising them both for, not cooperating together. And we start to see a bit of, there's some machismo here, but there is still this thing where there does seem to be the starting of the bond between these two characters, which will, of course, be further developed over the next few minutes. But more importantly, we're getting to the big confrontation between Lu Ting Chu and Chung Li Fu, these two rival masters, and we kind of know this is a very uneven battle. I mean, you've got this guy who is already seen beating up the master of what is supposed to be one of the strongest schools, the Tiger School. Xing Chen's master does get killed in this confrontation, but it does at least lead to the reunification of the Tiger and Crane schools. Speaking of the Crane school, you've got this master who, comes across as very knowledgeable and potentially was very powerful in his day. However, he's in the body of a weak man. He is, hunched over. He has to walk with a crane. He's got this cough that never seems to go away. He excuses his tardiness on his illness. It's all these great signifiers that he is not a well man. However, his reputation, his stance, it all demands respect. And there's even this kind of hope that when these two do battle, you kind of hope that he's going to win. He's not. It's just one of those conventions in filmmaking. We're a half hour into this film. There's still an hour to go. You can't really have the main bad guy be defeated. The main bad guy has to win this. It wouldn't be dramatic otherwise. But there's always going to be this question mark on, will this guy survive the battle? He is literally dying on screen as we see it. I really enjoy the cinematography on this. I'll have to say it's very simple. It's just simple movements, some couple of zoom shots. That's actually a really kind of cool transition. It's zooming into the protagonist and leading to this really interesting shot above the round table of the bad guy. The transition between somebody who is relatively vulnerable and is trying to, fight for their life. They know they are at this stage where they will die if they try and confront the bad guy, so they have to train. They have to be good at this completely alien style of fighting, but that's what's necessary to, fulfill the prophecy, fulfill the, fulfill fate, bring these two things together, fulfill a promise to his master. It's all about obligation, but there's also this kind of background thing of the world kind of also in that conflict, and maybe. Okay, so Lu Ting Chu becomes almost this symbol of the oppression that the villagers are being subjected through from the Japanese occupational forces. It's always kind of true about a lot of media. Your protagonist and your antagonist become symbols for the overall conflict. This conflict being directly set in the Second Sino-Japanese War between the Republic of China and the Empire of Japan. So, there's a lot of symbology and all that. Coming at this from a Western culture, European style background, we're not used to seeing a lot of the differences between Asian countries and other things. Without trying to sound too jingoistic, a lot of Western media will portray a Japanese person, a Chinese person as the same thing. So it's actually really kind of interesting to watch this film and see how these two forces are interacting with each other. And I think it adds a lot of humanity to the proceedings to know that, we all tend to deal with conflicts in roughly the same way, and we're all affected by conflict, and we're all. I think I'm losing myself in this, but it is an interesting thing too as a cultural artifact. We don't tend to see this kind of divide in. It's always an us versus them mentality, but unfortunately, fucking Westerners, we always try and put them as anyone who isn't, the straight white male, and that's something we don't really get on here. We don't get the sense that Jimmy Wang used trying to, say, feminize the Japanese forces or anywhere, which is something Westerners tend to do sometimes. In fact, portraying Lu Ting Chu as this near impossibly strong villain, who we'll learn in a few minutes from now is quite literally indestructible. The film also points to his points of weakness, something that it's implied that Chung Li Fu actually perceives as his vulnerable points these little triangles, which become a major plot point later on. And it's just really good storytelling, and I think that's why this is an absolutely phenomenally good movie. And it's almost like you wish someone would come along and do something with this movie, revitalize it, reintegrate it. It definitely deserves a remake of some kind of description. But alas, nobody's really interested in old cinema nowadays. I mean, everything about remakes is always, trying to take some classic pop culture phenomenon especially from the 80s, remake that, Hollywood is just trying to recycle ideas because it doesn't want to invest in new ones. It definitely doesn't want to try and look at filmmakers from outside its own area, which is a shame. But I don't know. Maybe there is a maverick filmmaker who could take something like this and do something with it. Maybe reinterpret it in a way that's like, I don't know. Could be science fiction. Could be could be a horror film. Could be a comedy. You never know. It's just a shame, a movie like this hasn't been digitally restored at least. There are some copies of this on YouTube. I found a widescreen Mandarin. There's also a VHS copy of the English dub. But for the most part, that's about it. It hasn't really had a wide release since 1980 something. So who knows? Maybe sometime in the future. Hell, if this podcast gets popular, maybe, maybe, I don't know, maybe Jimmy Wang Yu will reach out and we can have a discussion, talk about Tiger and Crane Fist in more detail. And, we've still got plenty of minutes to go in this movie, so I hope you'll stick around and follow me for the next few minutes. I mean, yeah, we're going to get some exciting stuff, but in the meantime, please check me out on Fandom Crossing. I have Ko-Fi. I used to have Patreon, but I've shut it down because no one was supporting me. That's okay, but, like our Facebook pages, like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that algorithm stuff, write a review, I don't know, just do whatever you want, but ultimately, I hope you're keeping well. The pandemic has been really tough. I've gotten insanely busy this year with starting a full-time course while also doing an old-time course. I also have done some other podcasts, including Trust Us, We Know What We're Doing, with my co-host Courtney Colson, where we're going through the entire backlog of Sledgehammer episodes, a TV series I loved from my past, and having fun introducing that to the future. So until next time, see ya.